Hello and welcome to another edition of Class of Creativity. This is the second video for value. In the first video we had created these charts, these different techniques of adding value to an object. In this video we are going to actually apply these techniques and turning circles into spheres. We're just going to apply two of the three. What I suggest that you use is a pencil. If you have a color pencil, that'd be great. In this case, I'm going to have a green one and a circular template. In this case, I'm going to use this coffee cup. I'm going to use the bigger end to create circles. So turn your paper over to the back side. And first thing we're going to do is create two circles with the larger end of the cup. If you do not have a circular template, I had mentioned this before in another video, where if you just kind of get your hand in a circular motion, get that pencil in a circular motion, it's almost, you're almost practicing that motion, and then as soon as you feel that you have it down, you want to just lay that down. Remember, draw very lightly, and we'll see how close I got to that same size with this template. Okay, a little small and a little lopsided, but if you don't have anything, then that works just as well. It's the best we can do. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is I'm going to just focus on this top one here. We're going to do tone technique to the top one. The first thing I want you to do is we're going to break this circle up into 5 different spaces, because we have 5 different values that we're going to work with. So the first thing I want you to do is just put a little oval, top left hand corner. That's going to be excuse me, that's going to be the brightest spot. That'll be equivalent to our number 5. I'm going to write number 5 in here. You do not have to. I'm just letting you know that this little area here is going to be left alone. And let's put an arrow in for our light source. Okay, we're going to put another line here, but we want to follow the contour of the circle. So it's almost, if this line were to be removed, it would almost look like a C that was tilting, starting to fall on its back. I want to put one more line in here. I'm sorry, we're going to do a couple more lines, but we're going to do another line right here, right through the middle, and remember, follow that curved contour. And then we're going to put one more that follows pretty closely to the right and the bottom of this sphere. Okay, so we don't want this ball just sitting, floating in nowhere. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a line behind it, a horizontal line, and that's going to give the illusion that it's actually sitting on some type of a table or a shelf. And that will also make way for our shadow. So for our shadow, if this is the center of the ball, we want to start a little bit over to the left of it. We're going to bring that out, and you're just going to make like an oval. Now, if this is 5, the lightest spot, this will be 4. Where it gets a little bit darker, this will be 3. This space will be 2, and this will be 1. I'm going to write those next to it. You do not have to. I'm just going to write the numbers with an arrow pointing to each section. So obviously we're going to follow this chart. So 1, like we did for that first box, you're going to fill that in pretty dark. You're going to put some pressure down in that pencil. But I'm going to ask that you leave just a little bit of light right at the bottom of that sphere. Okay. Number 2, we're going to fill this in a little bit lighter, but we're still going to put some pressure on that pencil. It just won't be as dark. Remember, by using the side of the pencil, it gives a nice even coat, and you can cover more ground with it. And then 3, even lighter. And then 4, we're even going to go really, really light, where you're barely applying any pressure to this pencil. Okay, so we go have each of the tones in there, each of the different value. And then for your shadow, what I want you to do is just, we're going to shade it on an angle. I want you to start out real dark, close to the sphere. And then just practice with your pencil as you go out towards the end. You're going to press a little lighter and apply lighter and lighter pressure as you go towards the end till you get to that number 5 spot again. So just practice that, where it's going to be one motion. I think it's lighter and lighter as you go out towards the end of that shadow. So there is something we can do a little further called a smudge technique, or a blending technique, where you take a paper towel or a tissue, fold it up, and then you blend all this together. And you could see this is a little bit more blended than this. You start to lose those pencil marks when you blend it. And leave 5 alone. And there we have our tonal. Now our other sphere, what we're going to do is we are going to practice the crosshatch. So now we're going to put our number 5 circle on the top right. Remember, don't forget that light source. I'm going to make those same lines that I made for the tone sphere that we did, but they're just going to be, instead of going on the top left, they're going to be going towards the top right. Remember, we're drawing very lightly. I'm drawing heavy so you can see where I'm coming from. Okay. Don't forget to put our table in there, horizontal line, and then if we want, we can just do our shadow right now. So I'm going to use a color pencil. Like I said, you don't have to. What I'm going to do for this is we are going to use the number 1 at the very bottom and then we're going to work our way up to that number 5. So remember, this will be 1, this will be 2, 3, 4, and 5, or we'll just leave that area alone. So remember, to get something dark, we don't press that hard, we just put more lines in. So basically what I'm doing is almost like making a bunch of crisscrosses or X's down at this bottom one that are really close together. And if I see any spaces in between them, I'll just add another line. For part 2, same thing, we're going to start putting these angles in here, but we're not going to make them as close together as we did in number 1. Now it's okay to keep them separate because you can always come back in, because it looks like this one I need to put a few more in between. You can always come back and go in between them if you want to darken an area up. Okay, number 3, we're going to go less lines, meaning they're going to be even more spread apart. And then 4, obviously, even less lines. Now down here for the shadow, I'm going to draw a series of lines that are going to get further and further apart as they get further towards the end of this shadow. Do the same thing this way. And it looks like you can make minor adjustments. It looks like I need to go all the way down to where those values are separate. Can kind of like get together, put these together a little bit more. And then what I like to do at the end is I like to just draw a few lines to help with that the contour of that sphere. And that'll do it. That's basically how you use those 2 techniques. Now the crosshatch technique is very similar to the pointillism, is where you just put more dots in those specific areas that you want, and less dots as it gets lighter. But you definitely should have your arrow with light source, a horizontal line behind the sphere, and your shadow as well.